time, right? It's really about meeting people. We're giving and getting cards, and you have to be strategic about how you approach this. Really, what you want to do is, if you're walking into a room and you don't know anybody, you want to just case the joint for a second. Look around the room. Who are the people that seem to be the influencers in the room? Who's popular? Who are people flocking to? Who are people excited to see? My very first networking meeting in Pittsburgh, I I was really nervous. I'm very much an introvert. I do not like this open networking time. I'll be very honest with you. It's not my personality. Now, once I get to know people, I could stand up on a box, give me a microphone, I'll be cracking jokes, and it's all good and dandy. But when I don't know anyone, I'm like at the 8th grade dance. I'm standing up against the wall. I wish I could disappear. I do not want to be there. So I'm in this hotel ballroom at the La Quinta, I think it was, way back in the day. And I'm having this argument in my head that I'm supposed to be meeting people, but yet I'm terrified and I don't want to talk to anybody. And so I'm sitting down and trying to not make eye contact with anybody, because God forbid they come up and say hello to me, right? And this is after years of knowing how to do this, but that's just my, my personality, so to speak. That's not my strength. And so as I'm arguing with myself that I need to get up and meet somebody, and all of a sudden this woman walked in the room, and when she walked in the room, 2 women jumped up and screamed. One of them ran across the room and gave her a big hug. And I said, okay, that's her. I'm going to go introduce myself to her and say hello. So I did. Went up to her, introduced myself, told her I was brand new to Pittsburgh, asked if it would be possible to maybe, sit down and get to know her and her business a little bit and find out how I can help her. And she said, absolutely. And it was a pretty safe bet that she was going to say that. And how did I know that? Because she was well liked and popular, and mean people aren't well liked and mean people aren't popular, right? So it was a safe bet that this was going to be someone who's going to be warm and accepting to me. So when you walk into these rooms, maybe for the first time, or maybe for the first time with purpose, look and see who the people are that are really making things happen and that people are gravitating to. Those are the connectors. Those are the people you want to get to know. So it comes down time to take a seat. They start calling the meeting to order. Everyone grab a seat. Where do you sit? How do I know where to go? Where you sit is actually critical. And we used to have the Tuesday chamber meeting. At one point was at Jurgles. And I remember there was a large group of people who used to like to sit at the bar. And the problem with the bar was that as the sun came up in the background, you were backlit. And when you were backlit, all we saw was your silhouette. So no one ever saw you. No one ever saw your face. You were a talking shadow. And so at that point, why did you bother coming to the meeting if you're hiding in the shadows, right? So you want to be among the people. You want to be seen. You want to sit in a space where you can see everybody and everyone can see you. When you stand up to give your commercial, do you have to move around to have people see you? Or is where you're standing already perfect? If you're ever in a restaurant and there's a booth, don't sit in the booth. You've seen it all happen before. The most awkward interaction is that person who has to scooch their way out of the booth to stand up and give their commercial. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid areas where there's going to be distractions. Pick a power seat where you can be seen and heard. And let's say that you know this about yourself. Let's say that you're a low talker. You know that you don't have a big booming voice. So don't sit at one end of the room or the other. You need to sit right in the middle. If you think about it for a second, if you sit in the middle of the room, your voice only has to travel half the room. If you sit all the way in the back thinking you're going to hide in the back, the people in the front of the room are not going to hear you. And again, you've wasted an opportunity to get your message out there. So really, really, really important. So we talked about this already, what to do. And so your 30-second commercial, this is really, really important. We all get an opportunity to do this. No one teaches us how to do our 30-second commercials. We basically, if you're like me, you go to your first meeting, you don't know what to do. People start giving 30-second commercials and you're listening to them and you're thinking, wow, that was kind of good. Wow, he was horrible. Well, she was really good. I think I'll do what she did. And we just start copying people. And we kind of take, uh, it's like eating a fish, right? We take the meat and we throw away the bones. We take the good stuff off of people's commercials, and then we discard the stuff that we didn't care about so much. But there needs to be a method to your madness. It's not about copying other people. If you're trying to establish and build your brand, you need to have a very deliberate commercial that you have ready to go. So I'm going to give you some don'ts. Then we're going to talk about the things to do. I'll be very surprised if I don't offend everybody at some point when I go over what not to do in a commercial, because you've either done it, and if you haven't done these things, I know for a fact you've heard them. If you were in a networking group today, you heard this in your networking group today. So number one on the list is don't sell anything during your 30-second commercial. Think about it. Each and every one of us in some capacity does sales. We have a product or a service that we are selling. When we actually engage in that process of selling, we are not standing up and making that sale. I have a listing appointment tonight with a client. I'm not going to be on my feet when I'm making that proposal to my client to see if they're going to use me to list their home. We will be sitting down face to face, knee to knee, across a dining room table, most likely, maybe a living room, and having a conversation. So sales take place in that capacity. If we were all in the same room this morning, I would ask you a question. I'd say, raise your hand if you came here today to buy something. And I promise you, not a single hand would go up. None of us go to a networking group, to a networking meeting and think, boy, I can't wait to buy something today. So no one's there to buy. So don't sell. Don't sell. The next one is don't read your commercial. You need to get to the point where you can have a commercial that you know it by heart, that you could say it, it's coming from the heart, and you can say it without having to read it from your phone or from a tablet, a piece of paper, or anything like that. The next one you see there in front of you is the phrases that we use. And sometimes I think we use these because we believe it makes us appear, to be knowledgeable in our field and appear to be smart. And we want to show that we're really good at what we do. But using these things, it's often filler, it's time filler, and it ends up being time waster. And let me explain this to you. We often say, I'm looking for anyone who, right? Mary Kay ladies will often say, anyone with skin, and then everyone kind of chuckles, but that really doesn't help me in terms of finding really what you're looking for. Let's see, I'm just going by what we did today. The IT consultants in the room, right? So we have Mark and Kyle, our IT consultants in the room today, and they might say, hey, we're a full service IT consulting firm. Well, unless you are in the IT world, you have no clue what that means. None. Let me give you an example of that. I networked with this guy for years, and every week he would get up and he would talk about how he was a full service accountant, CPA. And I didn't know what that meant. And so one day I got up and I talked about how I had given a referral to somebody for their payroll. And this guy came up to me immediately and he said, hey, how come you didn't call me? I said, what are you talking about? He says, I do payroll. I stand in the room with you each and every week, and I tell you that I'm a full service, one-stop shop CPA firm. And I just looked at him and I go, I have no clue what that means. And I don't think anyone else does either. So shocking, that's one of his services, but I had no clue, because instead of actually talking about his services, he's using these words, this industry jargon that no one's going to understand unless they actually do exactly what you do. And if they do exactly what you do, you're not going to get a referral from them. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Speak too fast. You can't get up and try to vomit on everybody in 30 seconds. So you want to make sure that you pick your words wisely, that you plan out what you're going to say, and it's better to say less and mix up your message every week. And we'll talk about that when I talk about what to do in your commercials. Here's the one I hear all the time is people who give an address, their phone number or a website, or I've had people even give directions in their commercials. There's this really cool thing called Google, and we can find you. So don't waste your commercial time giving us things that we don't need to do. More things that I want to warn you of. Don't let this happen to you. A lot of tax folks, CPAs will do this, and I've heard financial planners do this. They stand up and they ask a question and they go, who likes to save money? Or who likes to pay taxes? And no one ends up raising their hand, right? They're answering in their head, but no one likes to raise their hand. And so when you do that, you're technically kind of turning people off, right? Realize that when you're standing up there giving a commercial, you're a magnet. And as you know, a magnet will have two ends, right? There's a positive end of the magnet, there's a negative end of the magnet. One end of your magnet is going to attract, and the other end is going to repel. We want the part that attracts to be showcased, not the part that repels. So you want to be careful asking questions like that. I do want you to ask questions. I'm going to teach you how in a minute. There's often times when groups get really big and audio is bad. When we used to meet at Jurgles, there was a microphone that we would pass around. And people would say, oh, no, I don't need the microphone. I have a big booming voice. So that may be true, but if you're ever in a meeting and the microphone is being passed around, don't decline the microphone. Think about it for half a second. I don't care if you have the biggest booming voice in the history of the world. What you're telling everybody is, I'm better than you. I have this amazing voice. And so I don't need that microphone. That microphone is for losers. And I know you didn't say that, but just by declining the microphone, you kind of said it, right? So you really want to be careful. Even though you don't need the microphone, or you don't think you need the microphone, just take the microphone, use the microphone, pass it on. If you're getting up to do your commercial, don't talk about being nervous, and don't talk about if you made a mistake. Public speaking 101. After I'm done today, I'm going to kick myself 20 times for things that I forgot to say, or I said, or wished I had said. Okay. But if I don't share that with you, you'd never know. And so no one knows what you're going to say. So if you leave something out, make note of it. And next week, remember to add it back in. Going up and saying that you're nervous only kind of showcases and then makes it worse, because now people who weren't paying attention or were kind of only half listening, now all eyes are on you and they're almost waiting and watching to see what is going to happen. So just be natural, go up there and deliver your message and just work on it week by week to improve it. No one has a clue what you're going to say. There's no need to kind of forewarn them about it. If you're in a meeting and you have 30 seconds and there's a timer that goes off, when you hear that timer, wrap up your commercial as fast as you can and sit down. You've been in the meeting, and so have I, when the timer's going off in the background and that guy just keeps on talking. And when he does that, here's what he's saying. I don't care what actual words are coming out of his mouth. What he's really saying is, my time is way more important than your time. My message is so important that you need to hear me. And so I'm going to go over on time because I'm worth it. And so, man, you just come across super cocky. So don't be that person. If you didn't plan correctly, if you didn't practice correctly, and your timing is off, as soon as that timer goes off, the best thing you could do is sit down. Trust me, if you have a good message, people will come up to you anyway, and they'll ask you, hey, what did I miss? Like, what were you going to say? What was the end of that story? Because I'm interested, and that's all you want. That's perfect. The last one on what not to do. Don't tell me how long you've been in business, because here's what I'll tell you. Does it matter? Does it really matter how long someone's been in business at the end of the day? If I meet Amber and Amber says, I've been in business for 43 years, someone might think, wow, does she even know what's going on anymore? Like, that's a long time to be like, I think like this business has passed her by, right? Or Amber says, I've been in business for 30 minutes. And someone's going to say, do you even know what you're doing? Right? So it's almost a can't win. And a lot of people wear it as a badge of honor, how long they've been in business. But I would caution you, just stay out of that. Don't even bring it up. It's not important at the end of the day. It shouldn't be what defines you, how long you've been in business, because it can be used against you. And so I would just simply leave that out. Save that for one-on-one conversations when you can, have some follow-up on that. Now, here are the things that I do want you to do when you have your 30-second commercial. Number one, project your voice. Very rare to have a microphone in a meeting, so that means you're going to have to use your big boy voice, your big girl voice. Stand in a place where you can project. Hopefully you picked a good location to sit. You stand up, you deliver your message to the farthest person away so that they can hear you clearly. Slow down. You do not have to tell them everything you do. Let's go back to the full service CPA. The full service CPA maybe stands up one week and they talk about the fact that they can do your bookkeeping. Then the next week they can stand up and say, did you know that we offer tax services? Then the next week they can stand up and say, did you know that I can handle the payroll for your firm? Then the next week they can say, did you know that I can also do, and then just add these things slowly and slowly. You could rotate your commercial every week so that it's something a little bit different. And then people over time will learn all of the things you do. If you try to fit it all in 30 seconds, you're just throwing up on people, and that's never fun. So stay away from that if you can. So slow down, protect your voice, and then smile. You got to pretend at least that you're having a good time up there, because you want people to come up to you and talk to you and want to be able to do business with you. Always important to have some kind of a tagline or a call to action. Okay. So, right away, the CBD and the coffee combination, like, I feel like I could have a ton of fun trying to come up with some fun ones there. Right. But think of something fun, think of something catchy that you can do that. And maybe you've been to meetings. Hopefully you've been to meetings where before someone even stands up, you know what their tagline is. And that's awesome. That's great marketing right there. That stuff works. And so it's really, really important. You want to practice and memorize your commercial. And I know that may be difficult to do at first, but here's a quick hint. Open up a Word document. Type out your commercial. 75 words will get you 30 seconds. So just open up that document, look at your word counter at the bottom, write out what you think your commercial would be, look at the number of words. Sometimes you have to add to it, sometimes you have to scale back, and then get your phone out and start timing yourself. How long does it take me to say this in a normal, calm setting? Knowing that when you actually, if you do memorize it, by the time you actually get up to deliver it the first time, you're going to be nervous as heck. You're going to finish in 25 seconds, right? But it's going to be good for you. It's a great way to practice. And then I'll give you another hint that one thing that you can do is to just, sometimes at my commercial, it's like a sandwich. It's a very similar opening, it's a very similar closing, and then I just change the meat of my commercial from week to week, right? So this week it's a turkey sandwich, next week it's a ham sandwich, next week it's tuna, right? Whatever it is that, but the opening and closing is very, very similar, if not identical. So some more things to consider. I call it the Slim Shady method, right? My name is, and people stand up and they go, hi, my name is blank, and I do blank. And so as soon as you do that, I'm going to pick on Kyle again, but the same thing would work for Emily and Mia. And Emily and Mia, just so you know, I used to, before I crossed over to the dark side and became a real estate agent, I was in the lending side of things. That's how I very first got started in real estate. I was a mortgage lender. And I realized really quick that when I stood up and said that that's what I did, more than half the room just turned off. Think about it. I stand up and I say, hi, my name's Alex, and I do IT. Then right away, people are like, I have no need for IT. And then they just flip their switch in their head. I'm no longer listening. I don't need you. I don't want you. I'm not interested in what you have to say. And I'm not saying that they're doing it to be rude. That's how we all are, right? So we really, really, really have to be careful with how we do that. You have to be able to get a power question or a power statement that makes people listen. I'm going to give you an example. Because we don't have a chiropractor in the room, I'm going to use them as an example. Chiropractic is something that people either think is great or they think it's a bunch of hokum, right? Like this is a, you know, I don't know what's going on with these folks. So if someone stood up in a meeting and said, hi, my name is Alex and I'm a chiropractor, you're, you know, I don't know, you're going to turn off half the room potentially right off the bat. So instead, for example, a chiropractor could stand up and said, if your business were operating at 60%, would that concern you? Right? So then everyone's like, what? Oh yeah, I wouldn't want my business to operate at 60%. And then you say, well, what if your body were operating at 60%? Did you know that your nervous system, and all of a sudden now they start talking about, and then at the very end, they tell you that they're a chiropractor. Or maybe they never tell you that they're a chiropractor, but they tell you that they can get your body operating at 100%, that they can get messages being sent at 100%. What if only 60% of the messages you sent in your business got through to where their final destination was, right? Those are things that a way for you to phrase your commercial that gets everyone's attention. And maybe at the very end, they understand, see what you did there, right? Pretty sharp. And it doesn't turn people off at the beginning. At least they're going to hear everything you have to say before they make a decision on whether they have interest in you or not. But when you start with that Slim Shady method, you tell them your name and what you do, you might lose them immediately. There's a lot of benefit that some of us can gain from the knowledge that the IT consultants in the room have. The lenders in the room know about products and services maybe that we could all take advantage of, but if you're not thinking, or if someone, you just hear the word loan and you shut off, you're not going to pay attention to what they have to say, and you might miss out on something. So you want to pose a question, and I call that a power question. The power question is you make someone say yes in their head to what you have to offer them in terms of you, right? So go back to the chiropractor. If 60% of the messages that were sent in your business weren't being received by the proper people, would that be a concern to you? You'd be like, yes, absolutely, right? All of us would say that. So then when they turn around and then they turn it into something else, it kind of gets you thinking of them and thinking in that capacity. You definitely want to make sure that you get your name in there, your tagline and all that stuff. You definitely want to have some kind of a call to action always in that 30 seconds. It takes a few minutes, but you certainly have the ability to go in and do that. If we were in person, we would break out and we would practice some of these commercials, but we can't do that right now. So as most things, preparation is critical. When you are prepared to give your commercial, right? When you're prepared, that means that you're able to pay attention and listen to everyone else's commercial in the room. You're able to go to that networking meeting and focus on exactly that, networking. You can focus on who you want to meet. You can focus on who you want to connect with and who you can team up with and partner with. And so you're looking and listening for opportunities, right? So Amber does home staging and design. If I was not prepared in a networking meeting and I was so nervous to be there that I missed that conversation or missed her when she gave her commercial, then I miss out on that. And maybe even she misses out on that. What if we could be a great team together? And so it's one of those things, you really, being prepared is critical. Now, when you're not prepared, and we've all been there, when you're not prepared, what happens? You're nervous. You're not paying attention. As a matter of fact, as the commercials are going about the room, every time someone finishes and people look, yay, way to go, Jada, and they all clap, right? So then that happens, and then all you're thinking is, oh, it's 2 people away. Oh, it's 2 people away. Oh, it's 1 person away. Oh, I'm next. Oh, I'm next. Oh, I'm next. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. You're not listening. You have no idea who else is in the room with you. And here's the thing, you completely wasted your time at this meeting. What are you doing? Why'd you go? Why'd you go? Waste of time, right? So don't let that happen. The whole purpose of going to a networking meeting, the whole purpose of crafting your commercial, I will tell you, is to have a one-on-one with somebody. I titled this Dating for Business. That's what this is. Networking is dating for business. You're going out, you're trying to make connections, you're trying to meet people, you're trying to build relationships. And it doesn't take many to help you launch and to build your business. And what's awesome is awesome people know awesome people. So when you meet someone awesome, they have a whole network of great people. And when you kind of hit it off and you team up together, then guess what happens? You start getting referred out to their contacts and people that they know, and you start making other connections. That's the whole purpose and reason for us to be attending these meetings. So I have a very, very deliberate method. I would tell you that if you go to a networking meeting and you leave without setting up a one-on-one, I'm going to be harsh, that was a waste of time. You wasted your time at that meeting. Find someone, find anyone. And I would even venture to say, don't go with someone because you think they can help you. Go with someone because you think they're smart. Go with someone because you think they're sharp. Go with someone because you think they have integrity. Go with someone who you just think is an awesome person. Because like I just said, awesome people know awesome people. So find that person in the room. Find the person that when they walked in, oh, and by the way, everybody lights up the room. Some when they walk in and others when they walk out, right? So the people who light up the room when they walk into the room, that's who you want to meet with. And it's a little awkward, I know. Guys, if you're approaching a woman, seriously, when I approached that woman at the meeting I was telling you about, I felt like, am I like 16 again? Like my heart's pounding. I'm married, I promise. I'm not trying anything funny here, but I'm kind of asking her out. Hey, can I have coffee with you, right? It's awkward. And women, it's just as awkward. I get it. I get it. But let's just grow up for a minute and let's get past all that. We're not here to build those kinds of relationships, but just to say, hey, listen, Kim, it was great to meet you today. And, I'd love to have a follow-up conversation with you. I'd love to have a one-on-one. I'd love to get to know you better. I'd love to figure out how I can help you with your business. Man, this whole contact management thing, you're like Forrest Gump. You do everything. I want to figure out what that is and how can I help? I'd love to do that. Is that okay? Can we get together? And then she says, of course, right? Then we get, of course. Look at that. I got an of course. So we exchange business cards, right? On purpose. I bend the corner. It goes in my pocket. When I get back, I reach out to her. We set up a day and time. We go get coffee at Generosa and we sit down and we have a gay old time. Okay. When we sit down and have that meeting, here's what we're discussing. Oops, wrong slide. This is what a one-on-one looks like. You've all been to a one-on-one with the financial planner, the mortgage person. Sorry, ladies, I'm not ripping on you. This is just, one of those things. It usually, dang it, I lost the word, right? Stereotypes, thank you. But stereotypes exist for a reason. And oftentimes, you sit down with a financial person of any kind, and they come out with all their flyers and their charts and graphs, and we're not here to sell. If you're married, I'm guessing your spouse did not propose to you on the first date. And so we don't do that either, right? I would have got slapped in the face if I had proposed on the first date. That's weird. That's really awkward. It's a little slimy. So we got to take our time. We're going to hold our breath here. We're going to take our time and we're going to sit down with somebody. We're going to put all of our business materials away. And here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to use the hangs method. We're going to ask them about their hobbies, right? Bradley, what do you like to do when you're not working, right? We're going to talk about accomplishments. Heather, tell me about something that you've done that you're really, really proud of, right? We're going to talk about networking. Emily, where else do you network besides the chamber? Do you go anywhere else? And the reason I'm asking that is because what if I'm missing out on something? What if she says, yeah, I go to this great networking group and, it's every Thursday at 6:30 in the morning. Wow, that's crazy. Why so early? Well, because everyone's available, right? And so you get to talking and then maybe it's an opportunity for you. Let's see, Monica, I might say, Monica, tell me about some of the goals you're working on for your business. At Christian Business Partners, the networking group I run, we changed that for God, and we talk about how are you honoring God with your business? How is God working in your business? And then right there, I write the HANG, and then I draw a line, and underneath that line is the S. And here's what I do that for, because the S stands for services, but to be perfectly honest, I don't give a rip about the services you provide if I don't like what I heard on top. Does that make sense? So let me back up a minute, because even though it's called the Hangs method, above the H, there's actually an F that I put up there, because the first thing I want to talk about is family. So if I were to sit down with you, I would say, hey, Monica, so tell me about your family. Are you originally from Pittsburgh? Are you married? Do you have any kids? Where did you meet your spouse? Where did you go to school? You never know how much you have in common right there. And I've spent an hour never getting off the F. And the only reason I don't put it here is because otherwise it would read that it's the fangs method, and it kind of sounds like we're putting our fangs into people, and I don't want to do that. But always start with family, okay? Always start with family. So we go family, hobbies, accomplishments, networking, goals. We draw a line. If we like what we see in front of us, like I'd go on a second date with this person kind of thing, like I like them, I would like to help them, then you're going to continue on with services. You're probably going to continue on with services anyway, let's be honest. But you're going to be listening and you're going to care more if you really like this person. Jada, tell me a little bit more about what it is that you do. Help me understand so that I can help you, to build your business, and what should I be listening for, right? And you're taking notes and you're writing it down. And sometimes, you'll spend more than an hour before you even get to this, and then it's perfectly okay to say, tell you what, we're going to go ahead and let's set up a second date. And on the second date, promise that we're both going to talk about business. Can we do that? That way, when you show up, you already know that you're there and you're going to be talking business and you're not offended by it. So this is the best way. What happens is you go to that next meeting and you have this amazing connection with this individual. It may be someone that you'll never do business with, but you're there to help each other. When I first moved to Pittsburgh, I couldn't help anyone. No one's going to use me. I'm not from the area. I don't know anything about Pittsburgh. I don't know anyone in Pittsburgh. And so I went to meetings and all I did was have one-on-ones with people. I had a goal from May when I first started to the end of the year to have 50 one-on-ones. And I hit my goal. I did 52 one-on-ones in 2014. And so I closed on one real estate transaction on December 26th that year. So it's one of those things where it was all about the fact that I realized I had nothing to offer. No one's going to use me, but I became a great connector. I could meet two individuals and then say, Amber, have you met Kim? Because I think you guys would be great together. You guys should really get together, have a one-on-one, because I think you guys are missing out on an opportunity. Kim, you told me that you're looking for a website, and Kyle, he builds websites. I don't know if you do, Kyle, but I'm just roll with it here. And I met him, and he seems like a really great guy. I think you at least should have coffee and talk. Maybe there's something there for you, right? So I became the guy that started connecting people. Well, this very influential woman that I met at the chamber that day, I go to my next chamber meeting and I see her when I walk in, the open networking time, and I'm dreading that time because I'm already having anxiety that I have to meet new people and I don't want to do that. And I see her, she's already there. She's talking in a group of people, and she looks up and she sees me walk in because we had already had a one-on-one and we had a great time. We had tons of family stuff in common, even though I'm not from here. And she starts going like this and waving me over like this. And I thought, is she talking to me? Right? Wow, I guess she's talking to me. And then I thought, as I was walking over, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, what just happened? I just got some clout because I knew her, because we had a good interaction, and she enjoyed that interaction, and she liked me enough to introduce me to others. And that's what she did. She introduced me to the group that she was in. Hey, have you met Alex? He's new. He just moved here from California. Hey, have you guys met Alex? And then boom, 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 boom. And then guess what? I walked out of that meeting with 3 more one-on-ones. People wanted to meet me because she had kind of shown favor to me, so to speak. So understand how that influence works and how important it is. Now, we all know if you've ever gone to a chamber meeting, you get your 15 minutes of fame or 10 minutes of fame, whatever it's down to. You get a chance to speak at one of these meetings. And I'll be honest, most people screw that up so bad. They stand up and all they do is, instead of a 30-second commercial, they do a 10-minute commercial or 15-minute commercial, and you just want to like stab your eye out, right? I would rather stab my eye out than listen to any more of this. And so I want to help you to not be that person when you stand up. Jerry Seinfeld said it best. He said the number one fear is public speaking. The number two fear is death. And so you'd rather be the guy in the casket than the guy giving the eulogy. And so I understand that it's not everyone's forte to get up and go speak. But here's some things that can help you if you ever have this opportunity. Dress in something that you feel good in. If you feel good, or if you think you feel good, or if you think you look good, then it's going to help you to feel good and look good and portray that. Your confidence is going to stand out. So put on your look good, feel good clothes. Arrive early. Make sure that you have everything that you need prepared, especially if you're using technology. This happened at the chamber. None of you are going to know this because it happened years and years ago, but it was at a chamber Tuesday afternoon meeting. The person speaking was speaking on technology, about this great app that he had and how it was great and it was going to help business. And he stood there playing with the projector and the technology and couldn't get it to work. And so and then he went like, analog, I guess, by paper and explained to us what we were going to watch on the screen, but he couldn't get the screen to work. And all he did was tell everybody that he was horrible at technology and don't trust me. That's really what he did with his time, if you think about it, right? So you have to be really, really careful. Have a backup plan if you're using technology. If your technology doesn't work, can you still do your presentation? And how are you going to do it? Have printed copies, handouts, those kinds of things ready to roll just in case. And then always project your voice, speak to the back of the room. If you're going to use technology like I'm doing it now, very simple. A lot of pictures. Let the picture be what sparks your mind on what to say on the screen. Less words. Don't read the screen to folks. They can read for themselves, right? So don't be doing that. Let bullet points be 1 or 2 words that help you understand what to say, not necessarily for the group what to read. And then if you're going to have handouts that requires them to do something, fill in blanks or something like that. Otherwise, their heads down, they're reading the handouts and they're not watching you. And then don't do a 15-minute commercial. I would do the opposite. Educate people on a subject. I'm talking to you today about real estate. I mean, not about real estate, but about networking, right? So pick an area, and if it's going to be on what you do, just be educational. Don't mention your company. Don't mention your business. Stay away from using the words we or they. Do not talk about your competitors, and just make sure that you practice. We all have iPhones or some kind of a cellular phone. Your computer, record yourself doing your presentation so that you can practice, and that will help you as well to overcome any nerves. Make sure that you end on time. Handling questions, the best way to handle questions, because you've seen this too. Does anyone have any questions? And then you hear crickets in the room. And then that's not fun for anybody, right? So the best way to do it is, and what I've always done, and you learn this, I've learned everything I've learned is because I've screwed it up the first time. So is, hey, I know you guys have questions. I'm going to stick around after, just come up and talk to me, right? And then oftentimes if there's like a lot of questions, people will actually interrupt and start asking the questions anyway. That's great. You want that. You want that interaction. What you don't want is, does anyone have any questions? And no one has questions because you were boring or you stunk or they didn't care, right? So all of that's bad. You don't want to highlight that. So what you do is you take it away from them too soon. And if they want it back, they'll tell you. And then have a giveaway. Like today, I'm going to have a giveaway. So you're speaking in person, you go, you collect cards from people, you use that to do a drawing, you give away whatever it is you're going to give away, and then you just send out a little thank you, whether it's a personal thank you note or even an email that says, hey, thank you for attending today. Hope I was able to help. And, use that as an opportunity to set up even more one-on-ones. So hopefully that is beneficial to you. I know that went a little bit over on time, so I apologize. It's really, really important that we just get to understand how and why we network and be very, very deliberate about what we're doing. So I hope that that's helpful for all of you.
Thanks, Alice. Well, we did get started late, so that's not your fault. So you were actually on time.
All right. Awesome.
Yep, so we want to do our drawing now?
Yeah, let's do the drawing.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop recording.